The Indian government has banned more than 150 over-the-counter medicines which people have been using at home. The list contains well-known medicine names: Crocin, Cold and Flu Vicks, Action 500D Cold, Total, Dolo Cold and others, combinations of drugs like paracetamol and cetirizine, which everyone has used at some point or another. Someone used it once, some used time and again. In fever, in headache, in cold, in cough, for common treatments. So banning such commonly used medicines, it raises a lot of questions in itself. Right now, the government has not stopped here either. Now, the Indian Health Ministry is focusing on the 30+ multivitamin brands sold in India that have caught the government's attention, and which can also be banned at any time. Now, once again, multivitamins are basic drugs. Why are they being banned? Well, the ban that is going on these days, they have exposed some secrets of the Indian drug industry. It has revealed some dirty secrets, some mysteries, and some vulnerabilities of the pharmaceutical industry does not want people to see. They should not come in front of the consumer's eyes.
The Indian government banned 344 drugs. It's big pharma. They decide who lives and who dies.
However, this video today is made with the sole purpose of exposing these risks to avoid them, so that you can make the right decisions with full awareness and all the diverse information. Because after all, our health is at stake and health is more valuable than any wealth in this world, isn't it? Before diving deep into the matter, let's first remember that this is not the first time that a ban decision on this scale has been taken. In fact, in 2016, the government also banned 344 drugs, and until now, the government, in collaboration with the Central Drug Standard Control Organization, has been testing 6,500 drugs, out of which a total of 687 drugs have been banned. There is a lot of concern about the Indian pharmaceutical market. The issue is that even today, if someone, whether you visit a local drugstore or an online pharmacy, you will find these very drugs that were banned in 2016. You can still purchase them here today. Even after being banned, these drugs are still openly available in the Indian market, drugstores, and online websites. And what does this mean that we are consuming the wrong medicine, and what impact is it having on our health? Then why aren't these other companies afraid or concerned about the Indian government's ban? And if they are not concerned, should we also not be concerned? Let's understand why this ban was finally imposed. In the first place, so in India, the Ministry of Health is responsible. They make sure that in India, with a population of 140 crores, every individual gets effective and affordable medicines, so that every Indian stays healthy and lives a long life, free from diseases. But since there is less scientific education in a country as populated as India, consumers often lack proper understanding of how to use medications correctly. And this is where the role of doctors comes in today. Doctors diagnose diseases and prescribe medication which pharmaceutical companies understand well. Pharmaceutical companies know very well that if they want to make big money by selling more drugs, they will have to bring doctors to their side in any way. Now, if you remember the case of the drug manufacturer Microlabs in August 2022, their case went to the Supreme Court. It was revealed that they had distributed freebies and gifts worth hundreds of crores to doctors all over India during the time of COVID so that every doctor would write their brand's drugs in the prescription. And so it happened. All products of the Dolo brand, such as Dolo 650, Dolo 500 Cold, etc., were written in prescriptions after the COVID-19 pandemic. They became a household name overnight. Now, this was a matter of concern. Even Supreme Court took this issue very seriously.
1,000 crores freebies have been paid to doctors across India to prescribe the popular anti-fever medicine Dolo.
Central Board of Direct Taxes has found in its investigation that Microlabs has paid 1,000 crores to doctors to increase the sale of Dolo.
The National Medical Commission already passed this rule in 2002 that Indian doctors can't recommend any branded medicine. They can only prescribe the chemical name or the generic name of the medicine. Meaning that basically doctors can't write Dolo 650 in the prescription. they have to write paracetamol, which is the active chemical or drug in Dolo 650, in their prescription. Why? Because basically this will allow the patient to buy the medicine of the brand they want, can afford and trust. If they come from a poor financial background, they can even buy generic medicine, the cost of which is 3 to 4 times less than the subsidy of the Indian government. And for this, doctors can persuade the patients by prescribing the name of a particular brand instead of a generic drug, if they cannot afford it. But even today, many doctors are recommending prescriptions with the names of expensive branded medicines. And they are doing this because of the lobbying of pharmaceutical companies. It turns out that this Dolo company case is not an isolated case, but rather a common practice in the industry. I made a full video on detail last year. We exposed the connections between doctors and pharmaceutical companies, providing evidence. Explained how these big pharma companies are offering freebies and even luxury holiday trips to doctors to prescribe their medicines or simply to sell them, even you must have seen. In small clinics of doctors, medical representatives or MRs showing their company's medicines. Doctors get extra income from this, and pharma companies' sales also increase. So basically, when pharma companies want, they can easily control the market. The patient has to buy a costlier medicine than the actual required medicine through doctor's prescription. And this is a dangerous loop. The poor patient will buy the expensive medicine prescribed by the doctor, which will then provide commission to everyone from the medical shop owners to the distributors. But the government turns a blind eye to this. It's just the customer's loss. Don't forget, even today in a country like India, the average income of a person is 15,000. Let's take the example of 214 reports. If there is any rich person, then give him a branded medicine advice, which may be 3 times costly. But if there is a poor patient who has a serious illness, then he will be crushed under the expense of medicines. Now, no doubt, here, doctors have also exposed a very important loophole in the Indian pharmaceutical system in their favor. Let's talk about it in a short while. But basically, this is why. The top priority of the Indian Health Ministry is to not involve pharmaceutical companies in India in such unethical practices regarding medicines. That is why the Health Ministry has also banned some medicines, almost 150 plus category, due to same reason. In India, a ban has been imposed on the sale of dangerous, unneeded and overpriced medicines. Now, this is becoming a big problem for the pharma industry. That's how it is. The Indian government has published a list of those medicines which are actually necessary and needed. This list is called the National List of Essential Medicines. The government has listed all the necessary and life-saving drugs which are essential in our healthcare system. It's compulsory. Now, on these medicines, the government has imposed a cap on pricing under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940 and the Essential Commodities Act 1955, kind of maximum retail price, so that all citizens get affordable priced medicines. Now, if you look at this list of essential medicines, in total, the names of 384 drugs are included, out of which 364 drugs are in the individual category and only 20 drugs are in the fixed dose combination category. Now, what is this FDC's category and why? Why are they a big issue in this ban? FDCs, or fixed dose combination drugs, are also known as cocktail drugs in the market. These are basically those drugs in which there is a mixture of 2 or more individual medicines, but in fixed proportions. That's why they are called fixed dose. Now, there is a problem with this. Like Dolo brand's very common medicine, Dolo 650. If you look at its ingredients list, there is only one individual drug, paracetamol, in it. But there is another medicine of the same Dolo brand. There are 4 ingredients present in Dolocold. This is a cocktail medicine, and for this reason, it comes under the category of fixed dose combination drugs and the government. In the same way, Vicks Action 500 is also a mix of 3 medicines, diclofenac total and chest and cold as well. So all the medicines that are cocktails are in the list of banned drugs. They have been banned. And therefore, there is no ban on Dolo 650 or Dolo 500. Because in this, there's only one drug, paracetamol, but at the same time, Dolo Cold is banned as it is a cocktail. And therefore, paracetamol and cetirizine, these individual components are not banned, but some of their specific cocktail drugs are banned. It was necessary to clarify this so that we also understand the technicalities behind this ban. Why are some people spreading such wrong news? By saying that paracetamol has been banned and such individual drugs have been banned. Now the next question definitely comes that why did the government exempt individual drugs for banned but targeted cocktail drugs or fixed composition drugs? This is where the big game of pharmaceutical companies comes into play, which empties the average consumer's pockets. So, the government has a cap on the maximum retail price on the listed essential medicines which the government itself regulates. Their price cannot be increased or manipulated by any private company. But if a pharmaceutical company wants to increase its profit, it can just add a new chemical to the individual drug, make a slight change, and create a new category of drug altogether, which can easily bypass the maximum retail price cap of the government's essential commodity list. And then you see one company doing this, and 10 other companies also jump on the bandwagon. And by doing so, these pharma companies can easily increase the market price of any medicine for all consumers. This was one reason of crackdown on FTCs. Now let's talk about another and more serious reason. Our body does not always need multiple drugs. Like suppose, for example, you only have a headache, but the chemist brother gives you an fixed dose combination pack, which is a mixture of all the medicines that is a mixture cure for body pain, cold, and hunger. Now your headache will be fine. But in your body, 3 extra drugs or chemicals also went, which were not needed and will create more damage and side effects in your body, which could have been completely avoided. And if there are also antibiotics in that cocktail, then they will unnecessarily increase your bacterial resistance in your body. So next time, if you get an infection, you will have to take a higher dose of that drug, which will cause more side effects. Every doctor agrees that every allopathic drug has side effects. So the more power medicines we eat, the weaker our overall immunity and body becomes. So yeah, there are some valid reasons behind the government's crackdown on FTCs. But here's a common sense question that might have come to your mind. If these fixed drug combinations are a health hazard to people and most of the medicines are irrational or not so useful and are just a marketing gimmick, then why is the government approving them in the first place? Absolutely, that doesn't make sense at all. Approving these combinations is in the hands of Central Drugs Standard Control, and they should have the full power to reject the marketing gimmicks and harmful combinations in the first place. So what's happening here? First they are getting approved, then a ban is being imposed on them. Well friends, this is where the corruption and sheer negligence in the Indian pharma industry gets exposed. Look at this bitter truth. There are loopholes in the entire process of drug approval in India. Let's understand where they are through a simple case study so that you also understand what's going on in the Indian pharma industry. For example, let's assume I have a pharma company named GSF Pharma. Now, if I want to launch a new medicine, let's say by the name of GSF Ultra. If it's a mix of paracetamol and caffeine, what will be its process? How can I launch it? Let's see. Before launching it in the market, our company GSF Pharma will have to clear 2 major checkpoints. Only then we can get the license to legally sell that medicine. Before any pharmaceutical drug can enter the market, it must first be approved by the Central Drug Standard Control Organization, the Central Agency for Drug Regulation. This is the authority of the central government. This means that the safety and efficacy of each drug, how much benefit it will give to patients, and what side effects it may have are all checked before the drug is passed or rejected. Let's imagine the Central Drug Standard Control Organization has approved our GSF Ultra. So now you come to the next step. For our GSF Ultra's manufacturing, we will have to start a big factory. Well, for that we will have to go to a state. We will need a license from the State Licensing Authority. Service level agreement is for that state, so that we can legally produce in that state and then sell the goods all over India. Now in India, this is a major loophole in the process, which is literally The root of all ban-related problems. As we know, to launch a new medicine, it must first get a license from the Central Drug Standard Control Organization, which is under the central government. It's compulsory, but this compulsion for compliance and negligence is not just being followed. In an article published in 2016, we have received a concerning picture of our entire pharmaceutical industry. All India Drug Action Network founder S. Srinivas has exposed that the major pharmaceutical companies are bypassing the central government. They directly apply to the state governments for licenses to manufacture drugs, bypassing the central government, which the state governments approve without verification. And because of this, in the last 30 years, thousands of unapproved drugs have flooded the market, and the Central Drug Standard Control Organization is not even aware of it. And then, as soon as they find out, the government starts imposing bans on these fixed drug compositions one by one. And that's why we hear about it in the news. The 300 drugs are banned. Sometimes 300 drugs are being banned. And then comes the biggest question here. Let's say these medicines were banned, but even today, these medicines are available. They are available on regular chemist shops. Even now, if you go and do a simple Google search, you can find out that D-Cold Total, Cheston Cold, Dolo Cold, Parafast-like banned fixed dose combinations are still available online and at your nearest medical stores. So, is this ban a joke? Well, that is because pharma companies very conveniently bypass these bans.
They challenge these in the Supreme Court, which gives them extra time.
My lords, with all due respect to the summons, what is this false case? Our companies each and every drug is approved not only by the Medicine Authority in India, but is an approved drug by the United States Food and Drug Administration.
The Indian justice system is very slow, a fact well known to companies. And for this reason, cases like these keep going on in court for years, up to decades, now definitely. Here, some drugs become rational, but some stay irrational and harmful. So if any consumer is consuming unapproved fixed dose combination even today, then the risk is on him only. Now, when these regulations are so weak, you will have to protect yourself with your own knowledge that which drug you are consuming, which compounds are present in it, what could be its side effects, and whether it will suit you or not. But that's another story. If the government becomes more strict and regulates, our approval system will be properly implemented. Then the pharma company won't be able to fool us, and then all this will not come to fruition. In the first place, we see a very big impact of regulations in India. Literally, there are such drugs, most of which are banned in foreign countries, but even today they are freely available in India. For instance, consider these boxes. People may not be aware of them. Nimesulide, this painkiller, is banned in the United States, United Kingdom, and most of the European countries because its side effects are harmful to us. And there are many safe alternatives like ibuprofen already available in the market, so this is clearly an irrational and unsafe drug. Even pefloxacin and sparafloxacin, which have been banned in the United States and other developed countries for past 15 years, are still openly available in Indian markets today. The British Broadcasting Corporation published an article detailing their team's in-depth investigation into India's pharmaceutical industry. And then it was concluded that regulations are not being properly followed. Pharmaceutical companies have turned India into a dumping ground for the world's pharmaceuticals, where rejected and substandard drugs are being consumed, knowingly or unknowingly. Basically, pharmacists believe that if a medicine fails globally, it will still succeed in India. Consumers are unaware of this practice. Just because of lack of awareness, now this lack of law and regulation is only dangerous for you and me like consumers. No. In fact, it is also dangerous for Indian pharma companies and India's foreign reputation. If there are no strict regulations, companies will also make substandard quality medicines, which will cause more harm than benefit. Consider the case of Marine, an Indian pharmaceutical company, in December 2022.
Due to the defect in biotech's cough syrup, many children died in Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan has claimed that 18 children have died in the country after consuming medicines manufactured by based marine biotech. The Uzbek government said that 21 kids were hospitalized with acute respiratory diseases, a side effect of consuming the cough syrup DOQ1 Max, which Marion Biotech allegedly manufactures.
According to the World Health Organization, this cough syrup had claimed a total of 68 lives as of August 2023. Then Uzbekistan court arrested 23 more people in connection with this. And the distributor of that syrup, Ragvinder Singh, was sentenced to 20 years in jail. Another major milestone was in September 2022, which involved Haryana-based Maiden Pharmaceuticals. The cough syrup had taken the lives of 70 children in Gambia. This was also due to the substandard quality of the cough syrup. You will find many such examples, where due to the bad quality of medicines, common people have lost their lives, or they had serious side effects. In fact, in 2023, Indian doctors and the Indian Medical Association, which is the largest body of doctors in the country, have also raised a similar concern when they were blamed that why do they recommend branded medicines when the same generic medicine is available and it is illegal and they should only recommend generic medicine.
We had talked about this before, right? When I said that I will tell the doctor's side of the story later. So, according to Indian doctors, the quality of generic medicines is the biggest concern for Indian doctors. I really appreciate that generic should be given to the common man, should be benefited. But the point is, who is going to have a quality control of the generics, number one? And number two, who is going to control the corruption?
Doctors noticed that generic medicines are being produced more and more with substandard quality. They are made without any strict regulations or filters. And this is why doctors prefer to prescribe branded drugs more often, whose quality can be trusted. And this is true to some extent also. Our government will first have to make generic drugs completely safe and efficient. And after that, they can implement any rules or laws with 100% implementation without any collateral damage to anyone. If we have to meet the global standards, then we have to create those standards at home first. Then every Indian pharma entrepreneur will be able to uphold that standard not only nationally but also internationally in any country. India is a country with a very high potential. After COVID-19, India is
known as the pharmacy of the world.
Just because we are globally the biggest supplier of generic medicine.
India truly established that it was the pharmacy of the world.
India provided domestically produced vaccines to nearly 100 countries as aid.
India is playing the role of the pharmacy to the world.
During the coronavirus disease 2019 peak, India's vaccines saved millions of lives worldwide, even in critical times. When the countries like United States of America and United Kingdom were not able to fulfill their own country's medicine needs. And at such a time, India not only vaccinated its own 1 billion population, but also supplied vaccines and drugs to other countries. But even supplied 40% to the entire United States and United Kingdom.
Generic medicines were supplied by Indian farmers.
Even today, in Africa, Latin America, Southeast Asia, India is providing vaccines at an affordable cost.
We are extremely grateful for India's support to the continent during a very difficult time. We want India, with its excellent pharmaceutical industry, to set up facilities in Africa.
We have the technology for drugs and the supply capacity as well. We just need to increase our efforts to achieve safe and reliable standards. We need to make our regulations and standards stronger. We are moving in the direction of drug safety and quality. We need to throw away the callous attitude and become the absolute best, because India's pharma industry can become globally recognized. Our pharma industry geopolitically can become our biggest weapon. By leveraging it properly, India can negotiate in its favor with other countries, just like China does today. On the strength of our skilled workforce, we can greatly enhance the manufacturing industry. And I have one request from all of my viewers. You and me, in this big political economic game, we are just a small pawn. Some will get ahead, some will become martyrs, and some will become queens. But everyone's health is primarily dependent on themselves. At least you should keep this mindset. Science has only to make knowledge your own, learn something, understand something, and give the right direction to life. Our choices and our decisions are 100%. They give direction to life, and we make better choices and decisions with the help of science and scientific thinking. So share this video as much as possible with your friends and family members, so that we can develop this thinking in every Indian and together we can make our understanding better. Jai Hind, Jai Vigyan.